going to stay in the Netherlands? Oh, there we go.
I think we yeah, okay. So Viola asked me what I'm going to do for Christmas. So I'll answer. I plan to go to Vienna. So I've already booked everything, right? I really love Vienna Christmas market. I want to go to an opera. We have kind of, a routine with my husband. So, it's very
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
Perfect Christmas, a winter dream, I would say.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's really nice there. It's well decorated in Vienna always, and it's just kind of very nice. Okay, hello guys. If you don't really know, right, this is we have today a joint webinar with Viola Eva, and this is Alex speaking. I'm the CEO and founder of Digital Olympus, and I'd like to welcome you to our joint webinar. Viola, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I am very well. Like I was just telling you, it's the end of the year. So for me, it's the season of yearly reports, yearly budgets, and Germany is also a tax deadline. So I'm like knee deep in paperwork. But I feel like there's like 7 days or so to go. And then I think with every passing day from then on, it's going to get calmer and calmer until the holiday period. So in a pretty good mood, chipping away, and then looking forward to the Christmas holidays as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm also really looking forward to have a bit of a break, right? Just because I don't really know. I'm so tired. I don't really know why. Maybe I've been working very hard on all that. That is a separate question. But anyway, that at the end of the year, and everyone, right, needs to prepare their strategies, right? Besides just kind of having a break. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today, right? We will talk about the role of a brand entity in SEO and excelling, how you can accelerate your strategies in content and in building, what you need to prepare, and so on. And Viola, she will be discussing on-page SEO, right? And I'll be covering all things related to off-page SEO. And we've agreed with Viola that she will be the very first presenter, right, today, and I'll just follow her. So Viola, please feel free to, it's all yours, right? So please feel free to share your screen. And guys, I just wanted to remind you lastly, don't forget to leave your questions, right? We'll make sure to actually to pick them up all at the very end. So just make sure to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alex, for having me. I always really enjoy sharing a webinar with you and learning from your wisdom and experience. So thank you so much for having me. And welcome everyone. Comments are very, very much appreciated. Questions, remarks, ideas. It's a space to learn, and it's also a webinar for you. So let's make the most out of it. I am based in Berlin, Germany. I've been running this search marketing agency called Flow SEO since 2018. We're now 12 people and what they now call remote native. And we've really focused on SEO and also SEA strategy for startups and tech startups. A lot of B2B SaaS, a lot of SaaS. And I'm excited to talk with you today because 2024 was a turbulent year for marketing, I would say. Maybe this is also why we're tired and in need of a holiday break. From obviously everything going on, from ChatGPT and OpenAI to all the other AI content tools coming out. I think GA4 releasing in June also gave us some sleepless nights, etc. And now, of course, the topic du jour, search generative experience. I think search is transforming in a lot of ways right now. And so just a screenshot from the search generative experience beta version. If you haven't seen it, Google obviously wants to compete, with the popularity of ChatGPT, with ChatGPT being part of BART. And they also have their own technology in the making. And so they will have an AI-powered search as well. They will have a chatbot in search as well. Which means that you can be a lot more conversational, you can have longer, more specific questions, and you can also continue chatting with the chatbot. And the way I've kind of like summarized this is the way we search and gather information is radically changing right now. the type of expectations that we have on our search engine is changing a lot right now. And so hence, for us as marketers, we kind of need to face that new reality. And also, we need to face the reality that this chatbot now takes up a lot of real estate on page 1. We can see a chatbot answer takes up almost all of the above the fold. It's very, very detailed, and it has a lot less links, to the classic organic results. So my kind of like expectation is, with the chatbot coming out, search generative experience, we'll probably see a decrease in click-through rate to the organic result as we know it. And also, we're going to get increasingly more important to be able to be featured in these sources here. So that's what we'll talk about today. And we'll talk about it in the context of brand entity. If search is changing so much, if click-through rates are changing, if search features are changing, what can we do to not only survive, but thrive in a new search landscape? In all of that, I think information on AI and search is vast and dramatic. LinkedIn is full of it. I think it's also sometimes unclear and not tangible. So I'm going to try to give you a few practical steps in this presentation and show you exactly what you can do. And also, it's coming at an inopportune time where, at least the space that I'm in, startups, etc., a lot of marketing teams already faced a lot of pressures and already have to deal with kind of like a very competitive landscape. So today, we're going to talk about the future of search, how to rank in SGE, how to do well in the new search reality by increasing the relevance and strength of your brand entity. And so let's maybe talk about what is an entity. And in the eyes of Google, an entity is purely a sense-making unit. So they say it's singular, unique, well-defined, and distinguishable. So it could be anything like a person, an organization, a concept, and kind of like the network of entities or the knowledge graph makes up a structure of relationship between these concepts. So an entity could be a person, may it be Britney Spears or Beyonce or Kylie Minogue, people of public figure, politicians, people, places, Berlin, things such as like training methods, SOP, agile learning, events, or organizations, so businesses, whether nonprofits, companies, etc. And so the idea is, if Google doesn't have a very good understanding of you as a brand, of you as an entity, you're going to have a slimmer chance of performing well. And basically, the stronger your brand entity is, the higher your likelihood of being featured in the AI-powered search, and the higher likelihood of being successful. So let's look at an entity in the wild. Rey is probably my favorite Star Wars character. I think she did extremely well in the first episode when she was featured, and then they did very poorly in the 2 episodes after. But this is an example of everything that Google already knows when you type in Rey. Google knows she's a Star Wars character. Google also knows the relationship of the movie character to the actors who played her, and we can so then basically learn about the 2 actors. We understand what movies she's been in, and if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, please do so. And we also understand kind of like the concept and relationship around it, like what's special about her, who's her boyfriend, what is her personality, etc. So we can understand that Google not only understands Rey and the history as it is within the films, but it also understands Rey and which actors play her and how the films have done. Another maybe more practical startup of an entity in the and another example of an entity that's more practical from the startup space is MailChimp, popular newsletter and email marketing tool. On the left, we can see the screenshot of the MailChimp knowledge panel. We can see it's super filled out. It's very, very detailed. We can see if people type best email marketing tools, MailChimp immediately comes up. And if we type for email marketing tools, and the people also ask, Google actually understands and asks about MailChimp and HubSpot specifically. contrasting against two competitors of MailChimp. So for example, if we type in ConvertKit, we can see that it has two company profiles. One's for the LLC, which is probably the business unit. We can also see that Nathan Barry, the founder of ConvertKit, potentially confused with a jockey. And then Drip, again, has a very, very short knowledge panel, and then also is confused with the slang drip and the definition of that. So whilst MailChimp has a very, very clear and strong brand entity, very, very well understood by Google in great detail, displayed very beautifully, those two suffer with confusions, duplications, and not the same amount of clarity. So how does Google understand your brand entity or any entity? And the important thing here is it is important about what's happening on your website, but it's also important how you present yourself on the rest of the internet. So yes, it's important how you talk about yourself on your own website, but it's also important how you talk about yourself in other places. So for example, if you're a tech startup, you might also have a LinkedIn company page, or you're listed on the software review sites like Capterra, G2, or TrustRadius. If you're a local business, you might be listed on Yellow Pages and Yelp, etc. As a tech company, you're probably also featured on Crunchbase or TechCrunch, and you might sometimes capture the news. Maybe you have been in Entrepreneur, Inc. or Forbes. The founder might be going to different podcasts. You're republishing these to your YouTube channel. So these are all the dots and bits of information that Google has to understand, what is this startup about? What is this founder about? What do they stand for? And connecting the dots is what we try to do when we talk about strengthening brand entity and strengthening Google's understanding of your brand. So why now? Is because, for one, Google has rolled out a lot of new search features this year. One of the main ones called sources from the web. And so even without AI-powered search stealing some of your clicks today, some of these sources from the web that feature entities already might be taking clicks on the search results from you today. So if you type in ibuprofen side effects, you can see the side effects right there on page 1. If you type training methods, you can see them right there. And even performance management software right there. You don't even need to go to a listicle anymore featuring the 20 best performance management software. Google gives it to you right then and there. If you're searching on mobile, Google might also show you apps straight away. Again, related searches, same idea, listicles are there. And even entities talking about local, if I'm typing top sites in Berlin, again, I don't even need to go to a travel blog or a listicle anymore. I get suggested the most important sites, the most important entities in Berlin, straight on page 1. This is getting amplified now, obviously, with AI-powered search. So I asked Search Generative Experience, shall we work with Viola Eva for SEO consulting? Luckily, he seems to be kind of like largely in favor. So I'm kind of like happy with the result it came up with. I think it did well for me. It pulled from our own website, from LinkedIn, and from my Search Engine Journal author profile. So we can already see how it's connecting the dots of the different properties that I have on the internet. However, if I type Flow SEO, I'm not sure if I'm as excited about the results, because Search Generative Experience says there are many places for Flow SEO, including marketing agencies, website designers, and internet marketing services. And then our LinkedIn page and our Crunchbase profile are two of the sources that it uses, but it also cites a lot of different agencies that have the word flow in their name. So I'm not as excited about on the kind of like regular old search. If you type Flow SEO, we're the #1 and we're the only one who comes up. With Search Generative Experience, we can see that Google is a little bit confused about us and doesn't seem to be quite sure where our agency ends and another agency starts. So if you haven't been able to use the SGE beta yet, I'm entering this with a private Google account that a team member in the US set up for me. I'm going to labs.google and I'm using a VPN set to the US, which is also why you see here a US local result. And so I strongly recommend that you start playing and experimenting for your own brand and your most important keywords. Now, what do we do? Google seems to be a bit confused about who is Flow SEO. Doesn't seem to be less confused about who I am, so that's good. But what can we do? So the first thing is this idea is understanding that this idea of brand entity in this new search environment is about more than just your website. Alex Birkett, who used to be at HubSpot, calls this surround sound SEO, making sure that you appear everywhere where people type product-related queries. Nick Eubanks called it SERP monopoly. Ryan Fishkin called it on-SERP SEO. But it's basically this idea is it's one thing how to talk about yourself, but it's another thing how you're presented in all of the other outlets on the internet, and you want to make sure that these are aligned. So what we've developed is a branded search audit that will allow you to monitor and audit, see what you're doing well for and what you're not doing well for. And this is a link that we'll be sharing with you, so you can do this for your own brand and for your own website. It goes into checking how you're doing with search generative experience. It also looks into the knowledge panel. It checks if any competitors are coming up for you. It also checks if the images and videos that are appearing for your brand name are up to date. If your Google My Business is up to date. We're also checking some branded keywords like Flow SEO reviews, Flow SEO pricing, making sure that the results are, showing what we would like it to show. We want to make sure that social media profiles are linked properly, have the most up-to-date branding, and are aligned with the website. We look at some branded links, branded mentions, etc. So this is a template that we'll share with you that will help you to get an understanding of how strong you are already doing when it comes to branded search and being understood as an entity by Google. So that's kind of like step one, is getting a lay of the land, understanding your landscape, understanding your strength, and seeing where the gaps are. Step two, I call that jokingly NAP. Saying NAP is back. So NAP is typically a term that I don't often come across since I work with tech startups that typically don't have a physical location. But whoever works in local SEO, does a lot of local SEO, is probably very familiar. NAP means name, address, phone number. And so in local SEO, it's always been very, very important that your name, address, and phone number are aligned across the web, so that every directory, every Yelp, every Yellow Pages has the exact same name, address, and phone number as has your Google My Business listing as featured on your website. Now I'm saying NAP is back, obviously with a smiley face, but what I mean by that is that you want to make sure that your company name, your domain, your short description, and your logo is aligned across the internet. So you want to make sure your homepage, about page matches your LinkedIn company page, your Facebook company page, matches your Crunchbase, your G2, your Capterra. And this is where I see a lot of my clients struggle, because some of them might have started in one area, for example, a software for goal setting and OKR, but they've since then merged into a whole performance management suite. But the problem is that their G2, Capterra, Crunchbase still talk about them as goal setting and OKR software. So there's a disconnect between who they are today and how they've originally signed up for these listings. And so we've been doing a lot of this kind of like directory cleanup for startups that typically wouldn't really rely on directories over the last few months, making sure that Google, but especially Search Generative Experience, understands them and understands what they're about. Because Search Generative Experience just doesn't pull from one page, your homepage, it pulls from a variety of sources. The other thing we've been doing a lot is schema markup. So again, the problem with Flow SEO is there's a couple of other agencies that have the word flow in the name, and we want to make sure that we're understood well. So organization schema is the way to go. For those of you who don't know, schema is a way of communicating to Google. It's a mathematical way of telling Google, hey, this is an article, this is an organization, and it's nothing new. Schema has been around for a while. SEO have talked about it for a while, but it's becoming increasingly important to kind of like close the gap between what Google understands. So here we've written an organization schema where we have our legal name, we have a description, we have our URL, logo, then we link to our company YouTube, LinkedIn, and Crunchbase. We also say, hey, I am the founder, and then we are known for SEO, search engine optimization. We've also added person schema. Ever since we added person schema, I have that huge knowledge panel here on the top. I did not have that before. So it's definitely adding the person schema can help you trigger this. You can also see that when it goes to related searches, it features Cindy Crum, Brittany Mueller, so very famous other SEOs. So it understands I'm an SEO, I'm in the same space. So the person schema here is like pretty long and detailed, but we basically try to build an entity home for myself, Viola, in our case, that lives on our About page. And then we give a description, we give the LinkedIn profile, and we give a photo, we show where I studied. We show that I know about SEO, I'm a founder, I'm a senior SEO consultant for Flow SEO. And then we mark up where I've been mentioned. So web pages or creative work like Search Engine Journal authorship, podcasts that I've been on, YouTube videos that I've been on, other webinars. And so again, we're connecting the dots between all these mentions that I had on the web and show Google like, hey, this is all the same person, this is all the same entity, this belongs together. So why this helps is like, one, we did an audit to analyze where are we already strong, what's doing well for us, where does Google understand us as a brand? And then we're using schema markup. Then we're using a cleanup of directories, NAP is back, and schema markup to connect the dots between your website, social profile, and the places where you're featured and mentioned. It's also a way how you can now claim, like generate and claim your knowledge panel. And it also allows you to become a more credible source, think about EAT, etc., and show your subject matter expertise. And so with that is kind of like the shout out that I want to give now to the second part of the presentation. And what Alex is going to talk about is like everything that we've done with this, with the branded search audit, with the NAP is back, and the schema is clarifying how do we talk about ourselves, working with pages that we can edit, right? Our website, we can edit. Our LinkedIn page, we can edit. Our G2 listing, we can edit. But the second part of the equation is obviously how do other people talk about you? And so we've also thought about this a lot, trying to figure out what are the places that we do want to get featured in order to strengthen our brand entity even more. But with that, I'll leave it to Alex to talk about, gaining links, getting mentions, and I appreciate you tuning in so far, and feel free to type in the chat, and I'll also make sure to pop the link for the branded search audit into the chat as well.
Thank you very much, Viola, for your excellent presentation. Kind of learn to learn, and also it's really nice to confirm the thing that you know, right? Always it's just kind of nodding also, kind of very nice, right? Whenever you feel that someone is also sharing the same perspective. Okay, guys, I will take the lead, right? And I will be talking about off-page SEO and why I believe it's extremely important, right? And for sure, I will be talking about a brand identity and why it's important to focus on building a solid brand identity, right? But let me start with something quite known. I guess everyone knows what Barbie is, right? So it's, well, nowadays it might be also a movie, by the way. So, we have an iconic doll, right? And also we now have a movie. But most probably you've never met this Barbie, which is also Barbie, by the way. So yeah, that is my horse, one of my horses, right? So and her name is Barbie. And so trust me, this ginger lady has a quite remarkable personality. So those obviously, right, both Barbies, both entities, they have something in common. They are quite remarkable. Why? I think just because they have a strong brand entity or personality, right? So we just kind of can, we see a clear picture, right? Whenever we think about Barbie, in my situation, I mostly think for sure about my horse, but you think about, right, either a movie or a doll, and you have a very strong association, right, between a particular entity and a real thing, right, in our life. And that makes me believe, right, that brands always win search engine results, right? It's the same. It's quite the same as we look at things in a real life, right? So whenever we know we have a strong association in our brains between a particular product, right, and a brand, and we just kind of wanna, I don't really know, I would always prefer McDonald's over Burger King and so on, right? So we have some emotions associated with that, and also we kind of differentiate the brands, right? And we understand why we would rather go to McDonald's, right, and not to Burger King. And I think no matter how Google search engine results, right, look like today will look like tomorrow, brands always will be winning SERPs. And I prepared a few examples for you, right, related to digital marketing. So they're quite random ones. I wasn't really trying to take something particular. So let's take a look at this example. So what you see, right, this is a screenshot from Ahrefs, and you see the top 10 ranking pages for the search term link building. So, well, first of all, I think all of you know this brand. So there is no random domains, right, in this search engine, in these results. So we all know Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, Backlinko, WordStream, Yoast, Search Engine Journal, and finally, right, Wikipedia, which is also, by the way, Wikipedia doesn't really have the topical authority, right? This is not really the brand that represents even a digital marketing, right? Or represents any digital marketing, either tool or blog or media outlet. But Wikipedia ranks extremely well by the search term link building just because it's a very strong brand, right? It has been accumulating the power, right, and building out the brand for ages. And as a result, whenever you hear Wikipedia, you understand what is that. And the same for Google, right? Okay, let's take a look at another example. It's content marketing, right? Nothing interesting here besides what I know it is Adobe. How comes Adobe becomes a relevant source for content marketing? I don't really think, I remember I used to be into creating movies in Adobe, right? That is a separate product that belongs to them. And I've never been thinking of Adobe, right, as a content marketing tool. But it turns out, once they created a page about content marketing, and thanks to their overall brand authority, right, their overall domain authority, they ended up ranking remarkably well. And I think they can easily, at the end of the day, outrank HubSpot and MailChimp and so on. And for sure, we have here Wikipedia, right? Then there is another one, SEO, right? So, well, MailChimp, even though technically MailChimp is related, let's say like I could kind of agree, right? I can agree that MailChimp has something can be associated with content marketing, but I strongly disagree that MailChimp can be associated with SEO, right? So, and MailChimp, they created a glossary page about SEO, and they ended up ranking above everything, right? So their domain is nominated to be showed as a featured snippet. So basically, they get, well, I'm not pretty sure for sure, they might or might not get the biggest portion of clicks just because they answered the question. But in terms of the brand's visibility, right, they get all the eyeballs from this SERP. While for sure, for instance, search engine blend should be, or SEMrush should be almost for sure, should be way more relevant to the topic of SEO, because they've been, they're ranking for tons of keywords related to SEO and so on, and they have the right footprint on the web. But MailChimp outrank them. So what I think about that, I think strong brand entity, here is my summary, can easily outperform, can easily outrank any other sites, including the one that have better topical authority and the rest of other ranking factors. They are not really as significant as a brand entity and the overall power of this brand entity. Now, right, it's quite important to talk about the demonstration of how to demonstrate to Google that you're a strong brand, right? What we have to take into consideration. I think the very first thing that you have to keep in mind is that it's extremely important to get the right recommendation, right? So basically, while I really love to bring this analogy, right, to people, it doesn't matter whether you're from an SEO industry or you're from a completely different industry. What's quite important, right, is to get the right recommendations from the right people, right, that have enough authority in order to pass their authority to you. That is exactly how links work, in fact, right? So whenever a good website that is relevant to your niche recommending your website with your branded anchor and giving a link right back to your homepage, that is the real recommendation, because they know your brand somehow, right? So this means that they really kind of know you, and not only they know you, but they don't really mind casually mentioning you and giving you a link, which is even better, right? That is kind of 2 pluses. Okay, so, and for sure, right, that is the first thing. So you need to organize a stable flow of links back to your homepage with branded anchors, which is very important, right? And also it's very important, besides just kind of getting right links from, let's say, like corporate blogs, right, from other businesses, it's extremely important to get different links. So instance, whenever you participate in different events, whenever you are invited to speak at a podcast, whenever you do some co-marketing activities, so the context should be different and the type of links should be also different, because all those links, they are giving additional signals and confirmations to Google. Oh yeah, that is a real brand, just because what they do, they kind of participate in events, right? They speak, they participate in podcasts, they run co-marketing activity, they were featured on Forbes and so on, right? So that are kind of different type of link that you also have to generate, because without them, your brand won't be solid, right? So it's not going to be a holistic approach to building up your brand, right? In terms of your online footprint, I would say. And for sure, it's extremely important to have a very well-defined social media presence, right? So you have to run your social media platforms. And ideally, right, people should mention you, right, across those social media platforms, just because that's how Google can also confirm, and Google can also for sure crawl LinkedIn, can crawl Twitter, right? And that's how Google also gets additional signals, additional confirmations about you being real, right, as a company, because people are also casually talking about you on LinkedIn. Okay, I think that was exactly me when I realized that brand building is the future of link building, just because there is no longer, sooner or later, link building will be no longer a thing. But what's still relevant, what will be always relevant now, or will be always relevant, is brand building. And I have 2 stories, right, that prove my point. So you can take a look and see how links work for different companies, right, and how you know, they might or might not help, right, different brands build up their brand entity and help those brands either start ranking better, kind of start improving their visibility, right, of their pages in Google search, right, or not really getting anything out of those link building activities. Okay, so let's start with the first story that is sharing a quite positive experience, right? So it's worth mentioning that this client, they came to us and we felt that all their pages, right, the ones that they wanted to build links to, right, the one that they basically brought to us, they told us, look, we want to build links to this set of pages. We looked at those pages, right, we reviewed them, and we always try to be extremely, we always trying to be very honest with our clients, right? And we didn't really feel that the link, the page that they're interested in terms of, you know, boosting their visibility through links, they are not really the right fit. So we told them, look, we don't really think that these pages, you know, are a great match for our link building activities. We don't really think that we can really help improve the visibility of these pages, right? So maybe, right, what we would recommend you is to build links back to your homepage with branded anchors. And they agreed with us, right? Well, happens with the best, what I would say, right? That is, you know, sometimes it might be quite challenging to persuade the client, but we were lucky enough, right? And we still work with them. And we just built links, right, starting from, right, January. So we started our link building activities actually on the 1st of January this year. And that is our active clients, so we still work with them. And we've been building links back to their pages throughout the whole year, right? And as you can see, we were able to improve the performance across all their pages, right? Even though the main focus, right, we were only building links back to their homepage, it's really affected the rest of the pages, including the one that we didn't really like at all. And I think that is where the magic happens, right? When Google sees that your brand is mentioned by the right websites, right? And it's kind of happening month over month. Consistency is very important here, right? You get a stable flow of links back to your homepage. People are talking about you, right? It gives them, and it's kind of creates a very strong ranking signal, right? So for sure, right, if you look, and that is just the links that, right, some bits and pieces of our link building activities, right? I just selected the most powerful links back to their homepage. I decided not to showcase their name just because I think it's kind of, you have to get a permission, and I didn't really have time to do that, right? So I decided to remove their name. But trust me, I just kind of what I put, right, about the anchor that was their brand name. And you can see, and that is the report, right? If you never use it, I highly recommend. You can actually see the number of links that your website generated in a specific time frame. To be precise, here you can see in the last 30 days, right? And I selected only, let's say, like the SEO meaningful links, I would say, but also we can say the brand, also the link that are passing some brand authority, right? And we can see, and that is the client, right? They are from the digital marketing niche, so you know the websites are super relevant to them. And so as you can see, I only I filter out only the one that have the domain rating starting from 40, right, and organic traffic starting from 2000, and for sure do follow, right? So as you can see, they get a quite decent flow of links back to their homepage, right, thanks to our effort, by the way. And basically compared to their competitor, they're doing way better, right? And as a result, they kind of can improve the rankings of their pages, or the pages that we don't really build links to at all, right? And I think it's a very sustainable and evergreen strategy, because such links, they would never hurt your brand for sure if you build the right links, one more time, from good corporate blogs, not really the random ones, right? What are the key takeaways? I apologize for my slides. It's just such a mess. Something went completely wrong with the how it's called, kind of whenever you add some, flying elements, right? So something went completely wrong here. So my takeaways about this, like links to your homepage with branded answers are incredibly powerful. They're evergreen, right? Such links, they give a very strong signal to Google that people are aware of your brand, and they're actually endorsing you because they give you good links to follow links, right? Because they might give you just a brand mention, but they give you a real link. Yeah, high quality links to your homepage, they are vital, they're shaping your brand entity, which is very important, right? And you have to remember about this, because not each and every link will actually benefit your brand. And I have a bit different story, right? So that is quite the same client in terms of the niche, I would say. But we weren't able to persuade them to build links back to their homepage. We also weren't pretty sure about the quality of their pages. We thought that they are not really the right fit, they are not matching their search intent. But I'm not going to go too much into details about this, right? Because today I decided to talk solely about off-page SEO. But one more time, the pages weren't good enough, right? In my opinion, at least. And we built a bit more links, right? It's 137, and the budget was a bit bigger because I think we started this link building activities a bit earlier, right? So I think the first link was built maybe not really in January, but somewhere in November. But here is their organic traffic trend. Nothing happened here, right? Despite acquisition of 137 links, and believe me, they are all from corporate blogs. We don't really build any other links. So they are all very good, powerful links. Some of them even, I've been looking through those links, and I think that 60% of these links, they are placed on pages that are generating a stable flow of organic traffic. So the links are great, while the pages are horrible, right? And there is one more problem. Almost zero links back to their homepage, right? What is that? It's .nl, and the brand is not really based in the Netherlands, where I'm based, by the way. So I have no idea what kind of link they got, but most probably it's from an aggregator. Looks like the links to target, if you can see here, like it's not a single link. So the problem is kind of is very understandable and very straightforward, right? If you translate it into an SEO language, they don't really get links back to their homepage. And if you translate it in just not an SEO language, but just kind of in a business language, basically their brand is quite weak. By some reason, they don't really invest much into building up their brand. They don't really do much of marketing activities, and they only hope for the best, and they hired a link building agency, right, in order to build links to their specific pages, while they've never been thinking about fixing a very urgent and kind of the main problem, the main issue that comes from the fact that people don't really like them, or even like, not really like, don't even kind of think of them, right? Because likes kind of links, right? We can say that, in SEO, whenever you like something, you give a link, right? But people even don't think about them, right? They don't even give no follow links, nothing, right? So in my understanding, right, the brand, how you can understand that the brand is quite weak whenever people don't recommend it, right? Whenever people don't recommend it with links, that is a weak brand. And the first step in order to change this perspective, in order to change this trend, is to start actually actively building links and to run some marketing activities that is primarily focused on fixing this problem. And for sure, building links to any other type of pages, including blog pages, commercial pages like landing pages, for instance, will be the biggest waste of time and money, as you can see. So it's essential to stabilize, first of all, the flow of links back to your home page, and then only you can start considering building links to the rest of other pages once you see, okay, actually I get these links organically, right? So yeah, that is kind of the main problem. But I think brand building, if link building is for everyone, right, then brand building is definitely not an activity for everyone, just because the main focus is on acquiring links that truly resonate with your brand, right? So whenever you look at each and every link building opportunity, I would say you need to think of whether this link will really help me build the right brand, whether this link really will help me tell the Google that this is like kind of, if we take digital Olympus, whether a link on I don't really know, on HubSpot will help digital Olympus to confirm that they are trustworthy link building agency. Definitely yes, but whether a link on some other websites not related to link building, more like maybe I don't really know, less well-known brands that are not really focused much on digital marketing, right? Whether this link will really help us shape the right brand, especially it's very sensitive and important, right, to look at very early stages when you don't really have tons of links, and those links, they are creating a solid foundation, a starting point. And for sure, getting links from such sites is challenging, very, very expensive if you want to hire someone. And only solid business models can afford this, right? If you are not pretty sure in your startup, you're at very early stages, then most probably you just kind of need, first of all, to validate your product and understand who is your target audience, and so on, rather than just basically thinking over of any SEO initiatives, including link building. And for sure, you have to remember it's a long-term investment. You can't really, like, by getting another 10, 20 links, you can't really change the perspective and, create this kind of, create a completely different game plan, right? And putting your website in a completely different position for Google. So it should be, a strategy that requires a consistency in your activities, right? And if you do it like in kind of in 12 months, then for sure that will be beneficial for your website, right? That will help you shape the right brand, and will you will end up with reaching better visibility in Google search. But it's not really a one-time activity, right? So why, one more time, is brand building? Why is brand building the new link building? I think brand building, just based on the first example, brand building through links, right? Whenever you kind of do it in a very strategic way, it's the easiest and proven way to make literally any of your pages rank well in Google, right? So it doesn't matter whether you want to promote your commercial page at the top of Google results, right? Or you want to rank by specific content page, both for content pages and so on. Whenever you have a strong brand, it's going to happen, right? Eventually, that is the end result. So, at the end of the day, you don't really need to think about, okay, I need to build links back to this or that page, right? You need to think about this as a more like, it's more like, it's a very holistic approach, I think, that requires a long-term strategy rather than just kind of let's build some links, right? So that is my perspective on it. Thank you very much for listening through my presentation, and we definitely want to go through your questions if you have some.
Nice.
So let's take a look what we have. Oh, by the way, we have a comment from Diva to you, Viola. Excellent point about connecting the dots. So, okay.
By the way,
an issue with. Yeah.
I would just want to say I'm so excited, like listening to you, because for one, I think that's exactly. I think it's exactly right. So for one, I think it's so clear when we talk about social media, right? If you get more likes, if you get more comments, you get more visibility, but I think Google had that idea first and we forgot that. And also I think what we forgot and what I loved hearing you talk about is this, like a link is a recommendation. And I'm very, I have actually a lot of hope for the search industry right now, because I hear so many SEOs talk about brand, about reputation, about design, about user experience, about interesting messaging, good pages, etc. And so I do think it's like the little dog, that's sitting in the house that's on fire. I do feel like the last few months kind of felt like this. But just listening to you just makes me excited, I think I'm this idea of like building something that's interesting, unique, meaningful, worthwhile to link to, that's exciting for me. So really appreciate your presentation and share.
Thank you very much, Viola. Well, I have a question, right? I think our listener, they most probably might want to learn more about this. I just wonder, right? Whenever you kind of touched, whenever you were talking about the brand entities, right, and the different sources where Google can take the data about your brand. You also mentioned some aggregators, right? G2, right? Capterra, and so on. But I just wonder about the following, right? Do you think just being there and not getting any kind of endorsements, right, recommendations, will still play a role, or it should also, because for me, right, I haven't put digital Olympus anywhere, right? I think it's kind of, I think I'm missing something here, but for me, the main problem is that whenever you put your brand on G2, Capterra, well, any type of that, aggregators, what's next should come is just real recommendation, because then it's not, it's just kind of, having the profile for the sake of having the profile.
No, I feel you so much on this. So I think for reference, maybe per year, we have like 20, 25 clients or so. So there's like a very endless amount of how many people I can ask for reviews. And so historically, I've always opted for a LinkedIn review because I was like, it's going to look real. It's from a real person's profile. If it's on LinkedIn, I can later copy it on my website. It's already public. But I'm sure you're in a similar situation. There's a very endless amount that you can ask people for reviews for. Not all of them are going to write a review. And then, what do you prioritize? Google Maps, Clutch, Yellow Pages, etc. And so
there are so many options you can go with, obviously, right?
So my assumption is, like with everything, I think it's good to focus first, whether you're, an established business, a startup, or, a small service provider. And my assumption is what I see, for example, when I type something like performance management software, I see a lot of G2, Capterra being pulled into the AI-powered response. But it does seem to be exactly to your point that the companies that are listed on the top, because they have the most reviews, are being featured more. And so I don't know if it's really that helpful being at the absolute back end, page 20, of SEO service providers. I have a feeling it's probably better to consolidate on one aggregator and try to actually do somewhat well.
Than having an empty profile, right? So just for the sake of having it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of everything should come with a solid strategy, right? Comes together. So just kind of, because there is no sense of having a page on Capterra or G2 if you don't really feel that you can integrate this into your strategy, right? And really kind of make something there, obviously.
Yeah, and also, for example, what I see with some of our clients, maybe they used G2 and Capterra in the past, but now their reviews are very old and outdated. So they might, the reviews might talk about features that are not their core features anymore, or they have people wanting a new feature that's already released, but it's not reflected. And so then you sometimes see that being pulled into the AI powered. And so I think a very thin or outdated profile is not necessarily doing you a lot of favors either. Okay.
Yeah, well, we have a question, I think. Yeah, about Red Fishkin. By the way, did you have a chance to read his latest post about everything all together and so on?
I usually follow his blog quite religiously.
I mean the one where he was talking about receiving the money for selling you know what I'm talking about.
The Lost and Founder book that he wrote.
Feelings about this, right? Just because I think
it's a wild read. It's a wild read.
Yeah, it's a wild. But I think he always wanted to have a lifestyle business. And it turned out to be something bigger. And that is the reason why he's kind of pointing out, on his friends and kind of blaming them on not being friends just because it turned out into a real business. And there is no friends in a real business.
You're probably not wrong with that hypothesis. I never thought about it that way, but now that you say it, I feel like that something could be true about that.
Yeah, because for me, whenever I was reading that, I was like, why are you kind of, blaming the people that were basically helping you build up your business and so on? Because for me, it's so strange, because I would never, even if I completely disagree with someone, right, I would never put it publicly just because it's something between us, right? It's just not really ethically correctly to do that.
It's a conversation piece.
Yeah, it is. For sure. Okay, let's circle back to the question, right? So Rand Fishkin suggested invest in brands, not SEO. But it's kind of, I don't really understand what does it, I mean, without context, it's quite hard. What do you mean? Like putting digital Olympus on banners while I'm riding to the city center? I mean, it's kind of,
I mean, what I give like Rand Fishkin credit for, and maybe also the people asking the question, is I think if you're a very SEO driven company, there's a tendency to do kind of like same stuff, in the sense that these are the keywords our competitors are ranking for. Hey, our competitors, they all have a 2,000 word how-to guide. And I think what Rand Fishkin always has done really well, both at Moz and at SparkToro, is having a very unique opinion. Like if everyone says one thing, he usually has a different opinion, a different take on it. He has a way of criticizing the status quo, etc. And so for me, that kind of falls under brand and unique messaging. And I would say traditionally, SEOs have not been great at unique storytelling, strategic narrative. And so, but again, this is what's making me exciting now, is because that conversation has moved into SEO. Like, how can we weave thought leadership into our keyword optimized articles? I think that dichotomy of there's thought leadership there and there's SEO here is like closing. And we're now understanding that we might want to rank for a performance improvement plan, like my client wanted to rank for that, but we're able to rank with an article that says why performance improvement plans don't work and what to do instead. And so I think the gap between brand and messaging and SEO is closing. And again, I'm very happy about that. But I think brand is not a channel. So to the point of the question is, direct traffic is the result of an activity somewhere else. Maybe you have banners in the city center. Maybe you're going to a lot of conferences. Maybe you're strong on LinkedIn. And then as a result of that, people go directly to your website. But I think direct traffic is a result. It's not a starting point. And it's a result of being good in a channel. And that could be SEO, could be LinkedIn, could be your city center. But you gotta have a message, but you also gotta publish it somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's just also the problem here that sometimes you are not really certain about your product, right? You are not really certain about your services. So, it depends on your current state of things, because if you haven't validated your product yet, right, then you don't really know what kind of brand you want to build, right? So the problem here is that whenever you know, right, where you want to go, you kind of understand the landscape, then you can start talking about, the brand, what you want to put inside it, what kind of angle you want to take, how you want to differentiate your company from the rest of others. And I just kind of being honest, I think I started Digital Olympus more than 7 years ago. And only today, right, I kind of finally found, right, what I wanna say to people about Digital Olympus, how I wanted them to approach Digital Olympus. It took me almost 7 years, right? And that is the problem, right? Sometimes that you don't really know exactly. You kind of do things. They kind of you can be better, you can be worse. It depends, right? In terms of execution, you can find something that you can do a bit better than the rest of others, but that is not necessarily how you want people think about you, just because you're kind of testing things.
And this is also I love that, because you're not alone with this. I mean, Flow SEO is called Flow SEO because we started as a first and foremost SEO agency. For now 3 years, we offer PPC services, and it's always we are Flow SEO, but we also have PPC. And so I think this is, again, why it's such a good time to clean up your brand mentions, your directories, your branded search, is because that's the life of business. Startups iterate, people change their value proposition, their service, their product, etc. There's a lot of old stuff about you on your website and on the internet. And from time to time, you want to clean that up, because the person who's now digging out all of this old stuff is AI-powered search and Google. And so if you type your brand name into search generative experience and it returns an old description, that's probably because a lot of old stuff is around. And so that's why it's like a good time to clean up, before it releases.
Yeah, that is very true. Thank you very much, Viola, for joining me today. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And thank you very much for being here with us. Thank you
so much for having me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great afternoon and evening.
Yeah, wishing everyone a great rest of the day. Thank you very much and have a very nice day.